So good morning everyone. Today I'm going to present our group assignment. For question A, formulate the cost function and constraint function. So basically, cost function is cost equals to labor times capital. For this question, we got 8 labor and 2 capital. So our cost function is cost equals to 8 labor times plus 2 capital. For constraint function, basically the formula is capital times labor times capital equals to production. For this question, labor power 1 over 2 times capital power 1 over 2 equals to 100 unit. I've moved the power 1 over 2 to the right, so the production become 10,000. So now let's move on to question B. The question is set up the objective function in the cell. For labor and capital, there are dummy variable. You can put any value, but I choose 10 as my dummy variable. Now for cost function, so cost function equals to 8 labor times 2 capital. Okay. For production function equals to squared labor times capital. Okay. For output target is 100 unit. Now let's move on to question C. Use the solver to determine the value of labor and capital that minimize the cost. So first you need to copy all the value into new cells. Then press data, continue with solver, set the objective. The objective is cost function. Then you need to minimize the cost, so you press min and change the variable cell. Our variable cell is our labor and capital. Add cell reference is production function and equal to our constraint is output target. Then press OK. Make sure the unconsiderable non-negative is tick and GRG non-linear. So and then press OK. So you get the answer.
Okay, so we will continue with the next question, which is question D. So first thing first, we need to know the cost function. So the cost function is C equals to 12L plus 2K. And then we need to know the constraint function. So constraint function, which is L times K equals to 1000. Alright, okay. For the key component, we must include labor, capital, cost function, production function, and output target. Okay, so for labor and capital, we need to put any dummy number. So I choose 50 for labor and 200 for capital. To find a cost function, so we click equals, and with this function 12 times labor, so we click to the labor, plus 2 times capital, enter. Alright, to find a production function, we click equals square root labor times capital, and for output target is 100. Okay, so from here we need to solve it to get the actual answer. Okay, so we need to click data and click solver. Alright, for set objective, we just click the cost function because we want to find the cost function that minimize the cost. So we click the cost function. Alright. Okay, click minimize. Okay, so for this part we click label and capital. Okay, label and capital. Okay, and for this part we need to click add, and for cell reference we click production function, and this part must be equals, and for constraint we click output target. Alright, and click OK. Okay, so once this part has been filled in, we need to make sure that this box is already ticked and make sure GRG non-linear, and we click solve. Okay, and this part we just click OK. Okay, so with all this information, we can conclude that the firm uses less labor and more capital to minimize cost, because labor is now more expensive. Alright, so that's all from me. Thank you.
Now for the last question, which is question E. Assume the firms want to increase output to 116 units while keeping the original price 8 ringgit for labor and 2 ringgit for capital. Find the new optimal values of L and K that minimize the cost. So this is the cost function and constraint functions. The key component that we want to find is labor, capital, cost function, production function, and output target. For labor and capital, just put any dummy numbers. So for labor, I put 50, and capital, I put 200. For cost function, this is the formula how we get the cost functions. So equals to 8 times labor plus 2 times capital. We got 800 for cost function, and for production function, equals to square root, open bracket, labor times capital, close bracket. And then we get 100 for production function. Output target is 116 units since we increase output to 116 units. So this is all the value that we get to solve. Now go to data and then click solver. Our objective is cost functions. So we choose minimize since we want to minimize the cost. And then the variable cells is labor and capital. Our subject to constraint, cell reference is production function, equals to output target. So make sure we tick this and choose GRG non-linear. So we already get the new labor and capitals value. So when the output increase, to 116, which means 16% from the original. The labor and capital also increase to 80 and 320. Labor and capital. So this indicates that firm has constant returns to scale. So when all the inputs are increased proportionally, output and cost also increase proportionally. So that's the new value that minimize the cost. Labor is 18 and capital is 320 with the output increase to 116 units. That's how you solve the question E.